One of the key ideas in this unit is that when we're talking about area, we need squares. We're measuring squares. So the formula we use is length times width equals area. And as long as the length and width are 90 degrees to each other, we get squares, which then allows us to calculate area. So if I have a length of 3 and a width of 4, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 squares of area. Or I can just do 4 groups of 3, which is 12. And that's how I calculate area. That's how we get squares. The circle, we can't see the squares very easily, so what we have to do first is make our square with the radius. So we do radius squared first, and then we times that by pi. And that fills in that square here. About pi of those will fill in the circle. Okay, just a little bit more than 3 of those black squares will fill in that circle. The circumference, on the other hand, is 2 pi r. That's going to give us distance, or it's going to be about 3.14 times the diameter, gives us a distance around the outside. So we'll start with perimeter. So if I'm going to calculate perimeter, I'm just going to count along the outside. So I get 9 plus 13 plus 9 plus 13. That gives me all the way around the outside. So 9 plus 13 plus 9 plus 13. It's a good habit. I want you to really start getting habits of writing things down. And then once I've written it down, I can just plug that into my calculator. 9 plus 13 plus 9 plus 13. And that's going to give me a perimeter of 44 yards. So that's my perimeter. The area is squares. So to get squares, I need to make squares. I can do that with a grid. I can do 13 like this, 9 like this, and that gives me the number of squares. But we don't want to have to draw this every time. So what we want to be able to do is just do length times width. As long as they're 90 degrees to each other, they're going to give us squares. So I do on my calculator, 13 times 9 gives me 117. I'm going to end up with 117 squares when I multiply those together. For a triangle, really we're just looking at half of a rectangle. So just drawing in half my rectangle here. Not too sure why I'm not getting a rectangle, but anyways, we can draw in our rectangle here, freehand. And that rectangle has an area of 12 times 15. That's going to give me the number of squares, but I only want half of those. So 12 times 15 is going to be 180 divided by 2 gives me 90 squares of area. So that area in here is going to give me 90 squares. Now, in terms of the perimeter, I just need to add up the outside. 12 plus 15. This is my perimeter. This is my area. So 12 plus 15, but the problem is I don't know this length here. So to find out that length, I use Pythagoras. I'm just going to do that off to the side here. So 15 squared plus 12 squared equals, I'm going to call that x squared. And I need to use the square areas to find out x. So I'm going to find out x squared first. I need the area. So 15 squared plus 12 squared on my calculator gives me 369. So that's talking about the square. So this square here is 369, but I want the side length. So to go from area to side length, I square root. So square root 369. That gives me 19 19.0201, so 21. So I'm just going to round that to 19.2, so plus 19.2. Make sure you write it down. That allows us to keep track of things. So now on my calculator, I can just type it in what I've written down. 12 plus 15 plus 19.2 gives me 46.2, in this case is inches of perimeter.